Hello, everyone, and welcome to Partners in Public Safety. Now, this is a program where we focus on the police, fire, and emergency management teams that we have here in the city of Wilmington. I think I've said this before on the program, but we're very lucky to have such a high quality of emergency responders and emergency management teams here in the city. And this program is, we present it to you for another reason, which is how do we as citizens work with our emergency responders? How do we work with our police to make sure that we have safer neighborhoods? How do we work with our firefighters to make sure that, for instance, our homes are protected from fire hazards? And then we have to pay attention to our emergency management staff. When a natural or man-made disaster occurs, what do we do? How do we protect our families? So that's why we're here. And by the way, when I say we're here at the Emergency Management Center. It's the brand new Emergency Management Center, and just take a look at this facility. It's, if you think about it for a moment, whenever we do have a disaster, and we always hope we don't, but when we do, this is where all the people gather, all the firefighters, all police. In fact, we even have, for instance, if it requires National Guard to come in, if it's an event of that magnitude, well, they come here too. Everything is coordinated out of this center, and we're very lucky, again, in the city of Wilmington to have such an emergency operations center. And that brings me to the emergency management director for the city of Wilmington. His name is George Giles, and George, good to have you with us here.
Thanks for having us again, John. We appreciate it.
And thanks again for allowing us to present this program from this beautiful center. We want to talk today about preparing ourselves and our families when an emergency occurs. And I know you want to talk about a plan that everyone should have in place.
Right. And when we talk about a plan, we say that you should always have a plan and have a kit. You have a plan for your family. Make sure you have two places for your family to communicate where they meet. If they're outside either their house or even their neighborhood, where they're going to meet. Maybe outside the area, maybe a different state, have a contact number where members from the family can all call their aunt or uncle in a different state to make sure they let them know that they're okay. Also, when we tell them to have a plan, we make sure they can make sure they have a plan for themselves for at least 72 hours. If we lose power, if we have an event where the emergency responders can't handle every response, we want to make sure families can take care of themselves for 72 hours. So they need to have those things in the home that they can take care of themselves in their home for 72 hours.
Yeah, and when we make a plan, it's things like, for instance, if you shelter in place, or where to meet, if you might be, like you say, in a neighborhood or whatever. But then you're also talking about these physical things that we do, or like water. Flashlights. I mean, you're making a kit here, right?
Right. You're making a kit for your house. We tell them, we sort of recommend how much water each family member needs. Make sure you have foods. Make sure you have medicines, that kind of thing. Things that you need to sustain yourself without the power. So it will be certain kinds of foods. It won't be steak that you can cook because the gas might be off. We might shut the gas off.
Right. So it's something to sustain yourself for a particular period until, again, I would imagine, until the situation stabilizes and we know what the heck's going on.
That's true. Just a small thing, batteries for your radio, so you can listen to what's going on in case the power's off. Batteries for your flashlights, so you can have flashlights. We don't recommend candles burning in a house, you know. That's one of the things we co-partner with the fire service, is that when we want to watch the use of candles in a home.
Right. George, let me ask you, you know, you and other emergency management officials, we hear it all the time to prepare, but do you have any sense of how many people actually heed the call? I know all of us are probably alike. We don't act unless there is a crisis. And I know that's the whole point here, act before there is a crisis. But I would imagine, are the numbers low about people who pay attention to this?
Yes, John, it's very low, and that's something that we as a city, the county, the state, and the federal government, has to work on. And we try to get that message out. We let them know that we have a plan. We have plans for them. But when we tell them we need them to listen and react to what we tell them, they need to do it, because we have studied everything. We know there is a possibility of danger. Last year in Katrina, if that storm would have came 30 miles inland, 30 miles south of where it did, it would have came up the Delaware, and Delaware would be suffering such as New Jersey and New York is right now.
Right. And you know, it's not as though we don't have emergencies that occur around us. Just recently, we saw these horrible tornadoes moving through parts of our country. And I have to get your opinion on something else. And I know you're not a meteorologist, but it is my opinion that our weather patterns seem to be changing in this country. I think we're having, it seems to me, to have more severe weather. You know, as I grew up, I always remembered, and I grew up right here in Wilmington, but I remember 4 distinct seasons. And, you know, anymore, although we're having a wonderful spring, it appears, this year, anymore it just seems like some of these things all mush together, and we move right into the severe weather. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, our thoughts are, it seems like the emergencies are occurring during all the seasons. We are seeing hurricane or tornadoes right now which we don't usually see this time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, they're usually later this. So we do see more things happening like that, flooding and storms happening in the winter, rainstorms that happen here in December that shut down South Wilmington. Typically we don't receive that. But again, the weather patterns, you know, I'm not either a weather person either, but we have to react to that. And that's why we do have a plan for all weathers and all hazards, as you mentioned.
All right, now you have a great brochure that is available. It's actually almost a full pamphlet that's available to the public. And I know if they contact your office, you'd be happy to send them a copy of that. And the office number now is?
576-3914. But while we're on the thing, we're partnering with the Wilmington Police Academy. We are actually going to hand deliver several hundred of these brochures to churches, community groups, community centers, businesses in downtown. So that will be happening. National Hurricane season starts. We have National Hurricane Preparedness Week starting the last week of this month. During that week and the first week in June, we will be getting those brochures out so that people will be able to access these things from the library or any community facility.
All right, very good. So there you have the telephone number, 576-3914.
Yes, sir.
Also the city website, which is wilmingtonde.gov. Check that out. And then watch for these brochures to actually be delivered either to your home or to your church. And it's good to get this information out there. We will say it over and over and over again, George, until folks pay attention and they prepare themselves for these emergencies.
Have a plan, have a kit, and don't forget your pet.
Oh, the pets. Yeah, well, we didn't talk about that, but that's, I mean, I'm a pet owner. And that's very important.
It became very important to the country. A lot of people give us a reason for not leaving their homes is they're not going to leave their pet.
Okay, good.
So now our shelters are available for pets.
Good, and all that information concerning pets is in there.
In the brochure.
All right, George Giles, our Emergency Management Director, is with us here as Partners in Public Safety continues.
See where the good goes at goodgoes.org.
And we continue with Partners in Public Safety. Thank you so much for being with us on this program. You know, many of you have commented, I think this is about our 4th program, but many of you have commented on the fact that you appreciate the idea of meeting some of our firefighters and police officers and emergency responders. And also, we try to give you as citizens an opportunity to know how you can work with them. I mean, they do their job and they do it very well, but if you work with them more closely, we're all a safer city, a more protected city for our children and our families. So that's very important, and we appreciate your comments about this program. In this segment, we're meeting with Deputy Fire Chief Michael Donahue, and the chief's been with us before on the program, but today, we're all familiar with what, or many of us are, familiar with what firefighters do when they arrive at a house fire or a small structure fire or whatever it may be, and many of us have seen that. But, the fire department does a heck of a lot more when it comes to what are called technical rescues. Why don't you run through what are technical rescues, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Technical rescues, basically there's roughly 5 categories: high angle rescue, confined space rescue, swiftwater rescue, trench rescue, and collapse rescue. They're all special disciplines that require a lot of advanced training above and beyond what a regular firefighter would do.
And for instance, the other day, I know there was an incident at the Port of Wilmington.
Yes, sir.
And it involved a worker in a cargo hold.
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit about, as an example?
Yes, they were offloading the ship. The worker was approximately 70 foot down in the hold of the ship when he was crushed by a bale of wire. Obviously, he was unable to get out on his own, so we were dispatched, and it was our job to perform a high-angle technical rescue to remove him from the hold and get him to the hospital.
So we expand from what we normally think of firefighters doing, which is residential kind of emergencies, to industrial emergencies, construction emergencies, water emergencies.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
talk a little bit about water emergencies.
Well, in our previous segment, we talked about a marine unit, but
Yeah.
this also goes over into street rescue. We have severe rains. A lot of times there's a lot of street flooding, and we have to actually deploy members in boats, special crafts, and just in water rescue suits to go rescue people.
Earlier, before the program started, we were talking a little bit about what trench
rescue.
Rescue, is that just what it says?
Yes, it's for contractors that are excavating trenches to run utilities or whatever they may be doing. They dig a trench, and the trench, if it's not shored properly, has a potential to collapse.
Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about the fact that, I've talked to a few citizens who watch the program, and they say that, and that's why I said what I said when we started the segment, because they do appreciate the fact they get to know a little bit more about you and fellow firefighters and kind of what you do. But let's talk a little bit about the training. I mean, I think a lot of us think that firefighters learn about the actual apparatus they use, running hoses, training water on fires and things like that, but a heck of a lot more.
Most of that is done through rookie school when you're first come on to the fire department, but the technical rescue is training throughout your career to bring you to specific levels. A lot of us have gone to Texas A&M for national certifications in confined space and high angle rescue. A lot of us have been to Swiftwater Rescue School. We developed a technical rescue task force about 10 years ago, which involves 2 squad companies and a ladder company, and they are the guys that will respond to any type technical emergency. And the majority of guys have all the training they need to work these special incidents.
Okay, let me switch over for a moment to what are called hazardous material incidents. There's a whole other range of when a firefighter or an engine company or whatever is required to report to the scene.
Yes.
And let's talk about the hazardous materials. I think we have an idea, but go ahead. Give me some examples of some of the things you respond to.
Hazardous materials could be as simple as blood on the street from a shooting or a stabbing that we have to go disinfect and wash down, or as simple as an oil tank rupture in the basement of a house. But it could be more complex with a propane tank flipping over on the interstate. It could be in some of our businesses in the cities where there's numerous chemicals and there's a spill and they may mix and cause problems.
It is every firefighter who comes out of training, how do you get the training to be assigned to these particular incidents, or is everyone already trained?
No, everyone is not trained. The technical rescue is handled by certain companies in the city. The hazmat is handled by Station 6 on 3rd and Union. They are the hazmat company. We have approximately 60 hazmat technicians throughout the city. Not all of them are assigned to Station 6, but this was training that was done after they were on the job. They were all trained, and now they are nationally certified hazardous material technicians.
That's great. Well, good. Well, here's another look, as we like to do on this program, of something different that we don't talk about on a regular basis, but we appreciate this rundown from you, Deputy Chief, on technical rescues, hazardous material incidents that occur. It's a fascinating job. I continue to say that. It's a dangerous job, but a fascinating one. Do you look at it that way all the time?
It's a dangerous job, but if you worry about what's going to happen to you, you're not going to be as effective. It's a job, you're trained, and you go out and do your job, but it is exciting. It's not the same thing every day.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it a very unique job.
Yeah. I say to people all the time, when I look at our firefighters, our police officers, and our hazardous or emergency management teams, I don't know if I could do it. It takes a special person, I believe, and thank goodness you're all there for us. We thank you very much for being with us. Deputy Chief Michael Donahue is with us, and we thank you so much for joining us on Partners in Public Safety.
My pleasure.
All right, we'll continue with our program in just a moment. Coming up now is the Wilmington Police Department, and also we're going to talk a little bit about the cold case unit and present more information to you, and we thank you for being with us.
You're not sitting here.
Yes, I am.
Move! Give it to him hard!
No.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why you stabbing me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how.
Oh, you got...
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We'll rope it up.
Cause we know how to jump.
We'll roll it out.
Cause we know how to skate.
We'll cut it down.
We know what to eat.
We'll swap it out.
We eat healthy stuff.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
Yeah, well come on.
Today's a good day to grab your kids and hang out with them for an hour. Dance, walk, play a sport, or cook a healthy meal. Because just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We'll ball it up.
Cause we know how to hoop.
We'll mess around.
Cause we know how to play.
We'll drop it down.
Cause we know how to dance.
We'll veg it up.
Veggie night and day.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
All in together now. We can make it better now.
Search We Can to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day to keep you and your kids healthy.
And thanks for being with us here on Partners in Public Safety. In this segment, we're going to be visiting with our officials of our Wilmington Police Department, and we actually have two subjects to talk about in this segment of the program. And we're going to begin with Corporal Jermaine Crawford, who is the Public Information Officer, along with Corporal Mark Ivey of the Wilmington Police Department. And it's good to have you with us, by the way. I appreciate you taking time. We were chatting, and he came away from a meeting where they were planning some strategy for policing and is spending some time with us, so we appreciate it. Look, we all know about 911. Call 911. Thank goodness 911 is there. It was an ingenious idea of someone to set it up many, many years ago. But a lot of people are still confused about what happens when you call 911. I mean, they know the basics, but let's talk about it a little bit. I call 911, what happens?
All right, that you start the process when you call 911. When you call 911, you are now talking to the call taker. Let's just say you had a situation where there was shots fired in your neighborhood. When you call 911, the call taker says, okay, there was shots fired in your neighborhood. They hit a drop-down box on their computer. Drop-down box says this is a priority number 1. So automatically the computer reads that it's a shots fired complaint, It goes priority number 1. A red line flashes across the screen. That's priority. We have to get there. That means when people see our lights and sirens and we're driving through intersections, it's because it's a priority call. We must get there. Someone is in imminent danger, and that's priority, obviously.
So the priority is already set, but I'm still on the phone, and now you're asking me more questions.
Now, everyone is taught as a kid, tell a 911 dispatcher your name, your address, and a telephone number. They're getting this basic information out. Now, as you get older, it's the same information. We need this. It's pertinent because, God forbid, we get disconnected from you. We need to be able to call you back and ask further questions just to make sure that, for one, you're safe, everyone in the neighborhood's safe, and that the officers responding are also safe.
Right. So that's why it's important, if you're asked the questions, answer those questions to the best of your ability. And I think if people keep one thing in mind, every time you provide a pertinent piece of information, that's not only being accepted by that caller, by the call taker, but it's actually being, in many cases, transmitted right to the police officers who are arriving on the scene and maybe can avoid some sort of danger for themselves.
Absolutely. Now, when the call taker is taking this information, they're typing simultaneously.
Right.
So they're listening to you, typing this information, and sending it to the 911 dispatcher. In turn, that 911 dispatcher is communicating with the officer who's responding to the situation. There was a case where we had someone rob a church.
Yeah.
And what happens, the caller gave pertinent information. She gave the description of the subject and his direction of travel. But she stayed on the line. And we were able to respond to that area, find the subject, and arrest him.
That's good. Now, somebody calls 911 and they say, this is the reverse of the success, and they'll say, well, wait a minute, I called 911 and nobody came. Well, now we get into what? Priorities, right?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about those.
Now, we know what's important to you, you may think should be important to everyone. Now, you got to understand that in a high volume day, there's over 130,000 people in the city of Wilmington. Now, just imagine if you call because, let's just say, your cat is stuck in a tree. Now, we know that your cat and your pets are very important to you, and we want to service that call.
Right.
But understand, what if all 129,000 people called at the same time you did? We have to be able to prioritize.
Right.
And, it's just not feasible. So just understand that we're trying our best to get to where we need to be. It just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, okay, very good. So, and while I know that when we talked about how it actually works, going back to that in the beginning, you call, you're asked a lot of questions, somebody's there typing this information, and you have a computer all police officers have computers in their car,
Yes.
and so you're seeing this information as it's being relayed by the dispatcher.
Yes, sir. And we're seeing it, we're reading it as we're driving through. So again, when you see us driving through your neighborhood with the lights and sirens on, please, if you're walking, stand to the side. If you're driving, pull over to the right. Just allow us to get to where we need to be. There's a good chance someone's life may be in danger.
911 is happening very rapidly,
Yes.
so we keep that in mind, and that's the whole nature of emergency responses.
Important piece of the puzzle with law enforcement.
All right. Thank you, Jermaine. Appreciate that. Now we're going to expand our discussion a little bit and get into a segment very popular with those who view this program, and that is the cold cases. All right, the cold case segment that we do on the program is very popular, but we're going to do a little bit something different today. And Corporal Crawford, we have a guest. Tell us what we're going to do.
Typically, we usually bring the investigative piece where there's a victim involved. But today, we're going to have Detective Kimberly Path speak about the cold case unit in its entirety and let you know how it comes about.
Oh, that's good. Okay, well, Detective, it's good to have you with us.
Good to have you.
And you head up the unit.
Yes.
And so the unit's been around, what, about 2 years?
Since late 2010.
Okay. All right. And first, and I'm actually taking this cue from the corporal. We're not that we're going to talk about particular folks today and particular tragedies, but we do offer condolences to those people in the city of Wilmington who have to deal with cases that haven't been solved in a long time and have lost loved ones. And that's got to be a tough thing when you have to go back and interact with those folks and try to get them. Do you have folks who don't necessarily want to cooperate because they're trying to forget things? Or do you, if you approach them and say, we're going to reopen a case or we're going to bring a case back to the front, do you get a lot of cooperation?
So far, yes. We haven't had any family members that don't want us to reopen a case. We've had family members that are very, very eager to assist us as much as possible
Yeah.
to help bring some type of resolution.
Now, that's good. That's good. How did, when does a case qualify as a cold case? Or how long, I guess, is the regular investigative process before it kind of gets tucked into a cold case?
Well, I guess technically a cold case is, the definition would be any case that all the investigative leads have been exhausted.
Yeah.
There's no more witnesses, maybe no testing available for DNA or things like that. So that's when a case typically goes cold, is when there's nothing else possible for an investigator to do at that time with that case.
Right.
So there's really no specific time frame. It just, one case could take years of active investigating, and one case could take a month, and there's just...
Exhausted all measures.
Yeah, but the fact is that the Wilmington Police Department is now concentrating on trying to bring these cases back to the forefront and trying to do something about them. How many are there?
Well, we have about, I'd say, 100 cold homicides, and that's from 1950 to the present day.
Wow.
So we're starting to,
Yeah.
we're going back way in time,
Yeah.
to bring these forward.
Okay, and you have two former outstanding members of the Wilmington Police Department who are on your team.
Correct.
They're retired, but
Yes.
they've come back now, and they're still in police service. And who are they, and what do they do? What do you all do?
Well, we have retired Captain Don Palmentary Sr. and retired Lieutenant Robert Partlow. And we also have Sergeant Barry Mullins, who's on the
okay.
job now. He's basically like our supervisor of this. And we collectively work together. We review the files, meet family members, try and track down witnesses, examine physical evidence that may not have been tested previously. Now there's new technologies, so we'll send certain evidence away to get tested to see if we can, locate DNA or some kind of biological evidence. And that's where we are right now,
Yeah.
trying to put all the pieces together and examine cases with a fresh eye.
And to kind of go into why cases become cold, and that's simply one of the reasons why, because you figure you're dealing with cases back in 1950, they didn't have the technology that we have right now.
Yeah.
So because now they introduce certain technologies, we are able to reopen some of the cases and investigate them.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of exciting to think that you can dig into a file or go through evidence or find someone from back when who might be able to trigger that little something you need. That's going to be kind of an exciting way of working a case, if you will.
Yes, it is.
I was just thinking about it a little bit, and I thought, I might like to do that. It's, I'll tell you why I thought about that. It's not like the immediacy. The immediacy's not there of the police work you do every day, but that investigation part of what's part of every police officer, which is trying to determine how something happened, when it happened, who did it, and all that good stuff, that never goes away. So here you are, in a little bit more of a controlled atmosphere, if you will. You have a chance to look through all of that.
Correct. You
Yeah.
can take your time, as much time as you want, and really examine these case files and look at who the suspects were back then and the witnesses back then, and try and locate them. So
Yeah.
you can really look at it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, it's putting a puzzle together. You get a 3,000 piece puzzle,
Yeah.
and you have that one piece that doesn't give you that whole.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're walking, let's say in the living room, and under the couch, there goes that piece, and it's like, hooray!
Yeah.
You finally completed.
I know. I really do think that would be exciting work to do. Even though we're not talking about a particular case today, and we will on future programs, one thing we like to do, and the reason why we present this program, is how can the public work with you? How can they help you? So I know that on a regular segment, we'll ask people to call if they know about a particular crime. Can the public help in some other way? What's the telephone number?
They can call my desk number. It's 302-576-3643. If I'm not there, I have a voicemail. They can leave me a voicemail, and I will return their phone call. Or they can call our non-emergency number, 302-654-5151.
All right, great. Well, congratulations to you, and best of luck, not only to you, but to Detective Barry Mullins, also to retired Detective Lieutenant Robert Partlow, and retired Detective Captain Don Palmentary. That's the cold case unit. The next time we're on this program, Jermaine, we're going to talk about a particular case, and we'll get people out in our community thinking a little
Absolutely.
bit more. And try to help the families that are still struggling with some of these issues.
Absolutely.
All right, from that subject to something much lighter. You know, folks, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, there's a rivalry that goes on between police officers and firefighters. And a lot of times that plays out on the athletic field or on a basketball court. What happened recently?
Recently, the Wilmington Fire Department defeated the police department in a charity basketball game for the PAL.
We're looking at a little bit of it right now.
And if it sounds like I have some animosities, because I do, and we're looking forward to next year's game.
Was there any cheating? We'll leave that alone.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Congratulations to Chief Good and the fire department.
Okay. Now, listen, you have a great rivalry, and you guys work well together.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it, and thank you all for being with us on Partners in Public Safety.